Hello and welcome to episode 66 of the No Excuses podcast. My name's Anne and I live in the middle of Worcestershire in England with my husband Tom and our dog Bertie. Now, I'm not sure he's behind me at the moment because Tom's making himself some toast for his dinner, and if there's any food being prepared then usually the resident pig dog is ready and waiting just in case there's any leftovers, scraps, something might fall on the floor. If you've got a dog, you'll know exactly what I mean. Today is Wednesday the 27th of September, which means we're nearly in October, which means we're nearly in the last quarter of the year already. I mean, is it just me? Is it my age? I mean, everybody I meet, whatever their age, is saying that the world seems to be spinning faster. The days seem to be going galloping along, you know. But yes, so let's have a chat and see what I've been doing in about the last 2.5 weeks. Today I've got a finish. I know you haven't. I know you've clocked it already. Got some progress and a new start. Excuse me. I do have a very bad case of fog in the throat at the moment, and it's very, very irritating for me and everybody else as well that I'm with. So I'll try and keep it to the minimum. I've got my usual cup of cold drink next to me, which I'll slurp on at regular intervals, but I'll try not to be too disruptive, especially if you're listening using headphones. So yes, so we've got finished, progress, incoming, and what I've been up to. And I need to rectify what I didn't do in the last broadcast two weeks ago. I am the most unprofessional podcaster, really, considering that I've been doing it for, well, I think in February it's going to be 3 years. It won't get any better. And I don't really mind, you know. You can't be something you're not, can you? Well, not at my age. I don't care. It's lovely to see you all. Thank you for all your lovely comments and all the interaction I've had with you on email, on Instagram and Ravelry and on here. You're fab, and I'm getting to know some of you quite well, which is lovely. So let's kick off, shall we? Just a very brief reminder that the Smash the Stash mail and the flat makes or the flat mail will be ending at the end of October. So you've got about 5 weeks to get anything in, and then I'll do a draw first week in November. I might do it the last week in October just to get things moving, and as usual the prize for both of those mails will be a bag and will be a bag at least. And if it's in the UK, I'll add a few bits and pieces. If it's outside the UK, the winner, then I'll just add a couple of things that don't take it over the next weight band, you know, because honestly, you end up having the cost of the postage can end up being more than the value of the bag, really. And that's daft, isn't it? But, you know, first class stamps go up again next week, if you're not aware. So I went and bought some Terry Pratchett ones yesterday directly on the Royal Mail site, and if you spend more than 50 quid you get free postage, and they come in quite a stiff folder where they have before for me, so I just slip them into the bookcase in a sheet and I put a few at a time into my phone case so that I've always got a few stamps on me, and I find that works quite well. So if you want to avoid, they're going up from £1.10 to £1.25 for first class, and because I'm so forgetful I'm generally using first class stamps anyway, so if you want to avoid the hype then get in there. This podcast will be recorded on Wednesday. It'll probably not go live till Thursday because I'm going out later, you know, my limited social life, but I am going out later for me tea. So let's address the things that I didn't talk about last time, some of it anyway, and that is, I didn't mention anything to do with the swamp monster. And so many of you said, and I think only one or two of you said, don't flog it, keep it. And the rest of you said, just, restart it, do it again. Which I'd done. I'd started on doing it before the comments came in. I think you knew what I wanted to do, because I wouldn't be talking about it otherwise, would I? Not really, I don't think so. And because my cardigan that I finished last month, the blue and the green one, fits me so well, I should be using that same pattern, and I'll just put a different design on it, because both the Swamp Monster and that Stardust colourways are both quite variegated and speckled, so it doesn't really lend itself to being highly laced patterned or cabled even. So I might just put a bit of texture in just to keep me happy, because I get bored. I did a slip stitch pattern on the Swamp Monster last time, and I might just emulate that. So yes, so I did the Swamp Monster, and I did say there would be a draw, and if the person is in the UK, then they'll get a bag, and if they're not in the UK, then they will receive a pattern prize from me, unless they want a bag and they want to contribute towards the postage. Quite happy to do that. Anyway, so I did a random number generator, which I didn't film as usual. Sometimes I just ask Tom to choose a number between 1 and whatever. Anyway, and the winner is Lynn Thomas. Lynn, I'll put your, I think you've got a number after your name, which obviously I've forgotten to write down. But Lynn, if you can get in touch with me, I don't know where you are, and I don't know if you're on Instagram. I tried to look you up on Instagram, and there is somebody on there that could be you, but I'm not too sure. So if you can please get in touch with me, then we'll sort out your prize. And thank you very much to everybody who contributed and bolstered my decision to undo it, because I'd already knitted a tank top, and then I'd started that, and I'd ordered more wool, and it was a lot to undo really. And weirdly, Mum said when I gave it her back in pieces, weirdly she said I did most things bottom up, but for some reason I did the sleeves top down, even though they were pieced. She couldn't undo it any other way. I thought that was a bit odd. Don't know. I really don't know. I don't remember it doing it that way, but it wouldn't undo otherwise, would it? So sorry about that, Mum. So yes, and we will talk about that Suzanne Gates gave me a number of questions. She gave me 5 questions, because I said, if you want to ask me anything, then please do. And I will talk about those a bit later on. Okay, so I've caught up with what I should have dealt with last time. Sorry about that. You know me. Anyway, let's get on to the knitting. This is my City Limits, and it's my 4th version of this, and it, as you can see, it's been knitted in garter stitch. I have used all of the Fade into Autumn that Emma of Yarnworthy did last year, and I chose a merino. Luckily, I don't always like mixing my BFL and merino, and I don't know why, because I don't think it would show necessarily in a jumper or anything. So this has been knitted in garter stitch, and I say I've knitted the same size, which I think is the 2nd or 3rd largest to the largest, and the sleeves are actually the right length on me for a change. They're not too short. My sleeves always creep up a bit on me anyway. And what I've done is, I'll get Tom to take a photograph of me in a bit. I've gone from the palest yellows through to the greens, and then the last green, which is right at the end here, I ended up using, even though I thought it was too emerald in tone compared to the rest of the colours that were in that particular fade. But they were 50 grams each, and there's only a tiny little bit of that last green because I was reluctant to use it, but I couldn't lay my hands on anything that was similar in tone, even though that didn't match as far as I was concerned. But I've enjoyed knitting it, but grief, it's been such a long slog. I mean, I remember I was on the yoke and I'd finished the raglan shapings, and then you just work straight down to when you split for the arms, the bottom of the armholes. When Tom's birthday at the end of July, when Kath and Carol were visiting us, and it's took me a long time to get this done. And you know I'm going to say it because I get bored, because although there is, and you're doing garter in the round, it is knit one row per one row, so it does vary it for me. Good things about this jumper is I think the neck sits okay. Emma's yarn was all variegated, but I've had to do 2 plain colours for the neckline because I hadn't got anything left over from the yellow, because I didn't want to save anything because I didn't know what quantity I'd need for the neckband. I could have done it earlier on, I suppose, pick up and knit the neckband, but anyway, I forgot all about it really, about any impact. And you know me, I like to do things. I don't worry about stuff. So and I've merged this with very similar toned mini skeins that I've had, that I've collected over the years. I did have one beautiful green from somebody that I can't remember. Might have been Foxes actually. See if I can find that out. And that's gone very, hello Bert, that's gone very well. Tom must have finished his toast, paid the toast tax. You know, Bertie's, he'd normally come and pester me to see what I've got, and I have to tell him I haven't got anything. But he's settled down. Yeah, so I've used those yellow to green, and they toned really, really, really well with the fade. I'm very, very pleased. And even my eyeshadow matches. It's got yellow in it today. Can you see that? I don't know. I've only just put it on. I thought I'd put full makeup on today because I'm going out later. So I thought I'd put full makeup on, and it'll last. I'll just put a bit of powder on before I leave the house in about 2 hours' time. So yes, so this is, sorry, that's my phone telling me, my tablet telling me I'm going out in 2 hours. So the good thing is, yes, it fits me, it's nice. I think there's a bit of material here, but it's top down. When you look at top down jumpers, you know they're not my favourite for lots of reasons. A lot of it's to do with the weight on the needles, you know, especially on the sleeves. When you look at them, when they're laying out flat, they're like a cone. And I just can't get used to that idea, you know. 50 years of knitting things with shoulders. I just, yeah. I think I prefer things, because I've got no shoulders, I think I prefer things with a little bit more structure. But I love this. It's my 4th make of the same pattern, so I shouldn't be moaning. It fits, it's okay. I did garter stitch. I could have gone up a needle size, I reckon, because this weighs massive 748 grams, which is just under 3 kilometres of wool. So it's 2 yarns held double on 5mm needles. I think I should have done a 5.5. It's quite long, it sits nicely over my bum, which is what I wanted, and it's going to be mega warm. I'm going to wear it tonight. I might be too hot in the pub, I don't know. But I'm going to wear it tonight and see how it goes. I'm hoping it won't pill too much because it's garter. I don't know why that makes a difference, but in my head it does. But yeah, I'm pleased with it. I washed it. I can't reach my Eucalyptus at the moment. I've got a big bottle of it in the drawers here, but I can't get to it because there's so much stuff about. So I put some Fairy Non-Bio liquid, only a smidge, in the bowl. It lost a lot of dye, yellow, and then we hung it on the line I spun it at 800 spin, put it on the line over and bent it over so it was folded over by the armholes. I didn't want to stretch the rib out like that's happened on other jumpers that have been on the line. So yes, 3 kilometres of knitting in this. What else I was going to say about it? I don't think there was anything else really. The only thing I didn't do the 2-stitch raglan, I did 1-stitch raglan on there, and that's it. I'm pleased with it. I don't know. My nails went yellow. They're fading a bit now, and I don't know whether it was knitting with this. And it only affected really my left hand, where you hold my knitting, because I'm an English flicker. And then the first 2 fingers of that hand went a bit, the nails went a bit yellow. Not the fingers though. So I looked it up on the interweb, and it said it could be your pituitary gland. And I said to Tom, I don't feel poorly or anything, it could be my pituitary gland. He said, well, that affects your growth. He said, well, it don't make any difference to you because you're only 4 foot tall anyway. And he laughed and went off. Yeah. So I'm not worried about it. That I can see that the colouring is going. I did have some lemon oil as well from Boots, which is years old, that I'd put on my nails a couple of times. And although that looks clear in the bottle, I didn't know whether it was getting a bit old and it had discoloured my nails. I've not had anything else on them apart from hand cream. No nail varnish or anything, but it's just a bit weird. So it's fading a bit now. So I look in the whites of my eyes to see if they're going yellow as well. Thing with me is I don't worry about anything, you see. I self-diagnose, I decide on the least resistance, and then I stick to it. So I don't go to the doctors when I should, and I don't worry about things sometimes that I should maybe. No, it goes straight over my head. Anyway, enough about my jumper, my City Limits jumper. Another one ticked off the box. And I've been wearing my Felix jumper for about the last week. And it's gone quite baggy on the neck because I've got 2 big zip-up IKEA boxes in the wardrobe with my winter jumpers on, which have all been washed, ready for wear for winter. And I said to Tom I need something thicker to wear. It was getting cold, so he just pulled one out and unzipped it without getting it out. And I said, no, that's not I wanted a house jumper. No. And the first one he'd looked at was the Felix, which is done again in Yarnworthy greens with Surrey alpaca over the top, so it's fluffy. It's dropped blobs of green everywhere in the house. I said, go back to the Felix, I love that one, and it's really nice. Really enjoyed wearing it. It feels quite elasticy, a nice sort of tension feel to the fabric, but I haven't put it on today. I've noticed the neck's giving a little bit, so I might either undo the neck and redo it again, or I'll run a crochet, a bit of crochet round and stabilise the neck a bit, because I don't want it blowing out anymore. So it'd be interesting to see what happens to this one, because it's heavier. However, it's got 2 strands together, and that they might hold one another in, because I didn't put any alpaca in my neckline on the Felix. Are you keeping up? There'll be a quiz at the end. But yeah, I've really enjoyed wearing the Felix. For a whole week I've been out in it and worn it in the house, and it's been lovely and warm. I need to put a photo of the Felix in, don't I? I'll just make a note of that. We do. Now, progress. I am working on the Copilot Cowl, which is being made in the lovely Mohair merino mix that Andy and Angela of Attic Pink Dye sent me. I'm not going to show you today because I haven't really made much progress on it, because I keep falling asleep in front of the telly. But I'm just going to go and get something I started the other day. I don't know whether I've landed back in the same place, but hopefully I'm still in frame. I got to the end of this and I thought, what shall I do next? And I knew that I had a bag of wool near to me, wasn't in the loft, and I'm ready to knit with, and I've been thinking about it since I bought it. And that was mainly the Bird Street wool that I bought at Wonderwall when I went with Penny earlier this year. And after a little bit of deliberation, I knew I wanted to do stripes. I started an Elton jumper. So if I hold it up this way, that's the beginning of the shoulders, top down. So you've got, you know me, and holding things up. So this is the beginning of the Elton. I've got to do so many inches of this for the armhole, and then you pick up and knit off the shoulders each side to start working on the front. And I'm quite pleased with it. I started this Sunday, it's now Wednesday, I've not touched it today. And some days I've only done a couple of rows on it. But you know what stripes are like? They're very, very encouraging, aren't they? They encourage you to do just one more, or one more set of stripes. I don't think it's any secret that the pattern tells you to alternate 4 rows at a time, and the pattern's written for a wool yarn and a lace yarn, something like a suri or a mohair. I mean, you can choose what you like. You can have two wools if you want to, or you could have 2 alpacas or mohairs, couldn't you? It's your knitting. So I decided, I had all these lovely colours from Bird Street, and for me they're quite cool colours, but I think I'm going to be alright in them, not with the makeup I've got on at the moment, which is sort of brown based. But if I put something a little bit more purpley on, then I think they'd be quite nice. And I'll show you what I'm using, and that is, this is called Opus by Bird Street, and it's a merino nylon, and it's got lots of colours in it, blue, dark purple, and I wouldn't say it was your classic dusky pink, it's more of a dirty lilac, I think so anyway, and smatterings of green where the dye's broke, like sausage. So that's my main yarn that I've done the shoulders in. And then when I was looking on Etsy, as you do, and you know by Anne, I saw this by Cheshire Yarns, and it's called Cottage Garden, and it's a Suri alpaca. Sorry Ginny, it's fluffy. And I looked at it and I thought, it's got blue, it's got the pink, and actually I quite like that, because what I'd bought, I didn't really have the Elton in mind. I'd bought 1 ball of the figgy cloud from Bird Street when I was at Wonderwall, but I knew that wouldn't do me for the whole jumper. But my mind wasn't, they've got a beautiful version of the Elton jumper on their stand, and it's in bright yellows, a gorgeous little thing. So I've got the pale pink only, without any other colours added into this, which I'll use if I need to further down the body. And I've also what's the other colour I've got? And I've got a colour called Forager by, I'll show you, Lay Family Yarns, because Bird Street didn't have the fig in the merino, so I went up to Kelly. That's the plain pink. I can't remember the name offhand, but you can see they are the same colour. The pink, the base is the same colour. And then I've got this, which is called Forager, and that's a merino nylon, and that goes really well. It sits really well with that and that and that. So they all sit together nicely. In fact, I'll put a photograph of them all when they're still in the skein. So I've got these plainer colours, which I might revert to if I need to, nearer the bottom of the jumper, or even on the sleeves. But I somehow think that I'm going to be alright, and I'm going to end up having yarn left over, because grief knows I've got quite a bit, haven't I, here. So make sure I don't need any of that. The yarn management on this is awful. because you've got two very sticky, these are both Suri alpaca and silk, and the yarn management with them is a bit chaotic because I'm carrying the wool up the side. So what I've done, the pattern says 4 of each, so I haven't done that. I've done 4 of those, 4 of that, 2 of those, 2 of that. And I've done that because this figgy colour is so dominant that if I'd done 4 rows, I've only got 1 of those, but I've got 2 of those, and again there'll be a quiz at the end. And I think that's working out okay. What do you think? Is it alright? And is it going to suit me? Not necessarily with the yellow makeup and the brown lipstick I've got on today, but yeah, I think it's going to be alright, that. And it's nice and light as well. So that's my progress. That's my new cast on. Done on a bit of a whim. I'd wanted to cast on this wool since I bought it, which is a bit naughty in a way because I've got other stuff upstairs in the loft, not upstairs, in the loft that I've had for a long time. But I don't know, I wanted to have a go at that. It kept gnawing away at me, so I started it. And I think that's all I'm making a 68-inch bust. Now the pattern says 16 inches of ease, but I didn't want anything like that. I've looked at the pattern project pictures on Ravelry. I'll get there in the end. There's over 500 projects on there, and what I've found is I prefer the ones that are slightly less big, less oversized, not fitted exactly, but less oversized, because I mean I like my boxy, and I've got the worsted boxy, but I found the V-neck boxy a bit too big. So, and they do say not as much ease as you go up the sizes anyway. So we'll see how that works, and yeah, I'm looking forward to wearing it. I think it's going to be a nice, a little bit more dressy maybe. And I need to go out somewhere then, don't I? To wear it. I don't know what trousers should I wear with those, Mum? I'm not told Mum she doesn't need to make me any more trousers, because bless her. I'll talk about my mother in a minute. She's been a star, haven't you, again? So that's my progress. I'll come back in a minute and I'm going to show you my incoming. Well, incoming, as you know, this was supposed to be a no by I'm useless at that, so I've given up on that. I'm trying to restrain myself because I really don't need any more yarn. But like I say, buying yarn is a different hobby to actually using it. So, and I must try harder next year, because yeah, we haven't got an infinite amount of space. And also, how many jumpers does a girl need? Tom said he'd like one of these actually, so I'll have a look, dig around and see if I can find suitable colours for him. I've got some greens that might go. Don't really want to buy any more, but yeah. So I might be making Tom a city limits. He won't want it to be merino or anything, and the amount of food he drops down him, he's certainly not going to get anything expensive. We'll see. But yes, so I was watching Angela of Yarn and Yarns, and it was probably a couple of months ago now, and she mentioned she'd made something out of some art yarn, and she'd mentioned that she'd got something that had some tiny sequins in, and that she was thinking, she made a sort of, you know, throwaway comment that it might be the sort of thing she could stock. So I asked her what it was, because I thought I'd be interested in a bit of bling, and she said, I'll send you the leftovers. Well, Ange, this is not a leftover, this is a full ball, isn't it? And this is beautiful. Can you see it shining? Can you see the excuse me. Now this is called Synchronicity by LRA, and this is the chestnut colourway. Isn't it gorgeous? And as you can see, if you can see, it's a very thin polyester thread with little sequins on. I'd say they're about half the size of the sequins that I used to play with as a kid. They're beautiful. They must be a couple of mil across, you know, they're very, very small. So you'd hold this, I presume, together with another yarn to make whatever you wanted to make. Now, it says here, it's 100% polyester. It says knitting gauge, so 3.25 to 3.75 needles, or crochet hook using a 3.5 to a 4.5 hook. But of course, if you're going to put it with something else anyway, that doesn't really matter. But it is nice. It feels nice and soft. The sequins, they wouldn't irritate me. Some people, of course, have got extra sensitive skin. But yeah, that feels nice. It feels nice. So I'm going to have a go with that. I'm looking forward to putting that with something else. Orange maybe? Let's see. Let's see. And I've got quite I don't know how much is there originally, but Andrew's very kindly giving me most of it. 270 metres, there's quite a bit there. Enough for an hat, maybe, another hat. So thank you very much, Ange. Really kind of you to send me that. Yeah, I'm thinking about that one. And then, I don't know what day it was, but I feel sorry for myself, which isn't usually what I do. And I just happened to be on my laptop, which is probably the downfall, because when you're on your laptop, as opposed to the phone, you get a much better view of the screen. So if you're on somewhere like Etsy, for instance, which I may or may not have been, of course I was, I was looking through my favourite shops on Etsy, the yarn-related ones, and just happened to be on Attic Spin Dye. In fact, no, I tell a lie. I went and sought them out because I like their range of colours. And I thought, I'm going to buy some yak. Well, I quite like yak at the moment. And of course, my Blue Moment card is yak, and that seemed to be holding up quite well. So I bought some wool of them. And this is, it's 70% merino, all of these are that I'm going to show you. 70% merino, 20% yak and 10% nylon. So you get, for 100 grams you get 400 metres, which is fairly standard, isn't it? This is called Rusty Hull. And the name alone just attracts me. I love the turquoise orange rusty colour together anyway, but it's got other colours in it like green, like a beigey colour, orange, different blues, and it's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, and it feels really, really nice as well. So I thought, well, I'm going to choose two of the colours in here. So what I've got a cinnamon here, which is like the darker, see how well that goes? And then I chose Glade as well. Bearing in mind I'm looking at the screen, and your screen, all of our screens might show something fairly slightly different. So it looks like I did okay here in choosing the colours off the screen for them to go together. So I've got those three. Now because I've got yak coming from Emma of Yarnworthy, my only yarn club that I've got this year, and she does quite similar autumnal colours most of the time. I don't know whether to use those in a shawl, a big shawl, or I'm not sure whether to use them with my Advent from Needle and Thread last year, which is colours of semi-precious stones. And I could have a lovely stripy jumper with these colours. Or what, really. So, yeah, I will get round to that. Not soon, I don't think, because I've got lots of things to do at the moment. But aren't they gorgeous? And then, Angela and Andy, being the wonderful people they are, sent me pepper, and I don't know whether this is undyed or whether it's just got a hint of colour in it, but it is very close to the undyed skeins that I had from Emma, and this is gorgeous, and there's no reason why that can't go in there as well, or it would look very good as a neutral with some of my mini skeins from the Advent, wouldn't it? So got all those together. Ta-da! But they were even more generous to me, and they sent me some gorgeous bits of tie-dye fabric, because Angela knows that I'm wanting to, but failing miserably, getting towards doing some embroidery and some work on that. And that one has got a bit more pink in it. I think did you say they were old sheets? I think they're gorgeous, really, really nice, and some hand-dyed silks, embroidery silks, beautiful. So they will go. Yeah, I need to decide on what I want to do embroidery wise. I think I need to do something that practices first, because I don't have any skill in that area. You know, I've done a tiny bit of it, so I think I need to do a couple of practice pieces before I take on anything too big, maybe. But there are a lot of samplers that you can see online. Mum sent me one, a link to one on YouTube the other day about doing different flowers, and you could easily do a little ring embroidery hoop, couldn't you, with samplers in, and it'd look really, really nice. And with that, one of these fabrics as the background, that would look really good, I think. So thank you very much, Angela, and thank you very much, Andy and Angela. Your stars, you know, and it cheered me up no end, because I was feeling a bit glum. I'm finding the weather is impacting me quite a bit, and my big fear is, I am a worrier, like I said, but I'm concerned that my strong tablets will stop having an effect on me, so I try not to take them, and then I think, well, sod it, I'll take them, because life's too short to sit here and feel miserable. So I'm a bit like that. I should talk to the doctor. She was reluctant to give me anything stronger last year, but that was about 18 months ago now. So she said I'm stoic with my pain levels, but I don't feel like that some days. Yeah, you just have to get on with it, don't you? You can't moan about things. But I don't mind talking about it a bit, because I think you should be realistic about what you're coping with. And it's, you know, not me really feeling sorry for myself. That I might have a few minutes of that, and then I snap out of it, because I find it I don't want to get into that downward spiral. I'm mentally fairly strong, but physically getting worse, and the one impacts on the other. So anyway, end of me talking about myself. And then Mum and I met my sister and partner in Cheltenham, and we went to this gorgeous shop called Dostger Green. I don't know if you've got one. It's fairly new in Cheltenham, in the brewery quarter, and I bought this mohair and nylon, not silk, mohair and nylon. It's 80% mohair and 20% nylon, and there are 215 metres in this little 25 gram ball, and I thought I'd try it, and I think it was about £6 each, and Mum bought them for me. Thank you, Mummy. Now Mum says you've got enough wool, and she said, I'll buy it for you. See, you're an enabler really, Mum. She'll be shaking her head now, or rolling her eyes. So yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but maybe. I don't think I will use them together, because I think the beauty of that will be lost in the fluffiness of that. So that's my incoming, isn't it? I've also got a big package behind me from Wool Warehouse, which I haven't opened, because once it's opened it escapes, doesn't it? And in there is the chunky acrylic that I think it's Starcraft this year, that I've bought for my mother-in-law's cardigan, which will take me about a week to make once I get going, and a little bit of different wadding, I think, and I've not run out of wadding for the charity bags, but I have run out of the bit I could lay my hand on easily. I know I've got some more in the wardrobe, I think. And also I may have bought some drops, Kid Silk and Mohair in their sale, because I think it'd just be rude not to, really. I just chose a couple of colours. I thought they were fairly neutral, and I'll show you when I open the package, probably next time. Because when I finish the cowl, I want to then get cascaded done, because if I can get it done, washed, put away in a nice bag, then I've only got to wrap it at Christmas and could go up to her. So there you go. Oh yeah, and Andy and Angela also sent me a sheep soap sheep. Now, I offered my dog this because he wanted to know what I had in my hand. He always does, because he thinks it's always food. And he went, I went, no. Normally I'll sniff first. Oh yeah, it's food. But he didn't. I was like, you don't want to eat soap, you silly sausage. Yeah. Then he got his head bit off. So that's the incoming. Now we're going to talk about the questions that Suzanne kindly asked me afterwards. I don't mind. You know, this is what I said. If you've got any questions for me that I may or may not have covered in the past, then fire away. And they made me think, actually. I don't know if I can answer a couple of them, because I don't know the answer. But still, anyway. So, Suzanne's first question was, what is your favourite pattern that you've knit several times, apart from the City Limits? I wouldn't say the City Limits was a favourite pattern in that respect, because I've just done it for convenience, because I know it fits me. Because I find it quite a boring knit. I'll try to vary mine, but yeah. But I think that's a fair question, and I've had to think about this, and I'm not sure about whether I have knit anything really more than once over the years. I don't think I have. I've done variations on the theme. There are patterns that I'd like to knit again, but actually I've been a bit boring, and I've not really knit. Putting my mind back to years and years and years ago, you know. But I honestly don't think I've knit anything else more than once to the pattern. For instance, I've used one of the Rowan books. I don't know if it's a soft yak one or the Summer Light Cotton pamphlet type books. They've got about 10 or 12 patterns in each. Sorry, my nose is itching me again. And I've used the one pattern, I can't think of the name of it, I'll put it on the screen, for the stitch count to make about 3 or 4 other patterns of my own sort of stitch design in. So I've done I did the original one, and then I'll put it on, because I'll start looking on Ravelry. I'll be there for ages while you wait. And I've done the pink one that I thought looked dreadful when I walked to Merry Hill the other week. It needs to be a bit longer, really. And I've done a green version, and I've done a striped version, all based on the same pattern. And I've done a notch neck in one of them. But I've just used the stitch count, so yeah, that's as near as I've done to having a favourite pattern, I think. How did I meet Tom? Well, I met him online. I can't remember the exact details. It was over 20 years ago. And we emailed for over 6 months. And he hadn't been in touch, so I said, well, you don't want to email, that's fine. So he said, shall we meet? It's quite a long way from me. So yeah, and that's it really. We've been together since. Can't get rid of a good man. Yeah, so we met him online. So, yeah, it wasn't a dating site. Can't remember the details now, but It was nice, yeah, just chatting away. And met him, I think our first email was November, and then I met him in the June. And I always know the date because it's the day before my sister's birthday. Otherwise I wouldn't have remembered the day. I'm not very good at remembering dates and things. So then number 3 is, excuse him, coughing his guts up again. Favourite fibre and weight to knit with. Well, I'd say for me, I think I'm going to say BFL, because I find it nice and soft, and my BFL jumpers are worn much better than my merino ones. Whether it's 4-ply or DK, they've both done really well. I can't think of a BFL knit that I've had. The only one I was a bit not so happy with was the one yarn I got from Triskelion, and I think that might have been, it was BFL, cashmere and nylon, and it silk, I think, and I think it might have been the cashmere that was shedding a bit. But otherwise, BFL and DK are probably my favourite combination, because DK knits up faster than 4-ply, although I've got used to knitting with 4-ply now, and I do like the fact that you get a finer stitch definition with 4-ply, so it doesn't bother me, like I've just started the boxy, not in BFL. But BFL doesn't take the colour in the same way as merino. It's slightly duller in most instances, which tends to suit my colour palette anyway. Not always, but sometimes you want to go a bit brighter, don't you? But yeah, so favourite combination would be BFL and double knit. How old is Bertie? Well, we don't really know. We got him from the RSPCA 8 years ago. We'd only just finished work, and Tom had bigged up having a dog for so long. He only had about 2 weeks off work before we got a dog. And then we found out he wasn't dog friendly, and he whines a lot in the car, so we haven't been on holiday since. I'm not moaning about it, I adore that dog. Now, they said he was 5, but I think they tend to reduce the age. They can't be that exact. They can tell a certain age that he's not over or under by the teeth. But, yeah, so he's probably, he's going to be, I don't know, 13, 14. He's, yeah, I suspect he's older than they told us he was. So, 5 plus 8 is 13. Even I can do that in my head. And he's shown his age. We've had a lot of trouble with his tummy recently. He's settled down, and he doesn't move very much. We can tell he's in pain, and he's panting a lot as well. But he's on drugs, and if it means we have to up the drugs, then we'll take advice from the vets. But yeah, and until like 18 months ago, even he was tearing round. Like, it's only the last 18 months we've seen a big difference. And then finally, last of Suzanne's questions is, what was your least favourite project you've ever knit? I don't know. The things I've done that I've really resented saying yes to were the 2 baby shawls that I said I'd do. I tried and repair for my friend, and one of them was in like a 2-ply. It was a beautiful Shetland design, like heirloom, and it drove me mad. I spent over 50 hours on it, well over 50 hours, and I hated it by the end. I really resented it, because it had been damaged easily by putting it by a pushchair. You could see the oil. I'm not saying being damaged on purpose, obviously not, but it hadn't been cared for in the way it should have been, knowing how many hours were put into knitting the damn thing. And I just couldn't. I had to take a big chunk out of the pattern. She sent me a photograph and said, would you be prepared to have a go at it? And I thought, yeah, how hard can that be? And it was awful. I really resented resented it by the end. My mum helped me with the 4-ply one, and I worked mainly on the 2-ply. And I don't like taking on repairs for people, because although I can knit to a decent standard, I don't think it can ever be good enough if you're doing it for somebody else. But I'm assured that they did use it for both their babies, which is good, even though it isn't symmetrical anymore. So that is heartening, you know. But yeah, that's the, but as to for knitting things for myself, I don't think I've resented anything for knitting for me. I might have resented knitting for other people, and that's why I don't do it, because I want the standard to be high. I want it to fit them, and who knows if it's going to. So yeah, I tended to undo or just abandon things that I've not liked to do, and especially these days I just flog it. Like, although I did enjoy knitting the swampy, you know. So yeah, I can't remember. If anything jumps into my head, I'll let you know. I can't think that I've got anything apart from those shawls, which I hated with a vengeance. I got really ratty with them, and that's not like me. Anyway, yes, so thank you very much for the questions, Suzanne. And if anybody else has got any, then, you know, fire away. So before we get on to activity, I just want to mention that with the charity bags, I have put one in next to a lot of the fronts outside. It's been ironed on, fusible fleece, and I'm ready to go. I've done all the pressing I need to do last night, so tomorrow I shall be sewing. I shall start the sewing, and then things should fly by reasonably quickly, and I shall be talking to you, saying, do you have any preference with colour, if I haven't already. I also will say that because I've done this so haphazardly over time, that I will go through my comments and see if I can pick up everybody that's asked for a bag. But if you haven't heard from me by the next time we talk, and I will mention it again obviously, then your name has been lost in my fault totally, from my lack of organisation really. And but I'm going to make plenty of bags. I'm going to make 3 or 4 more than I need to, because I've got the males coming up, etc, etc. So yes, I shall have fun. I do enjoy doing it. With me, it's not that I dislike doing anything, it's getting round to doing it. I am in such a state in terms of mess around me that I have to clear the decks, and I find it quite daunting. And I know I'm not the only one that works like that. Anyway, no excuses. So you'll be hearing from me very, very soon about the bags and the yarn that will come with it. So finally, let's get on to activity, shall we? Just after I spoke to you last time, I met my mum. I went to Cheltenham, hence the walk. Met my sister. My sister's got a caravan, so they parked on the race course, and they stayed there for two nights, I think, 3 nights, and walked into the town centre, or went somewhere. You know, it's not that far from their home really, but they like to get out and about in the caravan. They're certainly getting their use out of it. And I had Isla with them, who's their Whippet Cross dog, a rescue dog. So they don't know. She's a similar age to Bertie, and she's quite vocal, but she's getting old, and she's really off, you know, stoned out of her mind on her drugs. But she's a lovely dog, and she's got her own. It's not a trolley, Anne. You know, she's got her own cart, the doggy cart that she's pushed around in, and she's really happy inside that. So we went to Cheltenham, we had a look round. We could go around John Lewis with the dog, couldn't go into the cafe where we normally go, but that was okay. Ali had looked up which shops you can go into. There are increasingly number of shops these days that you can take dogs into. It is at the discretion of the manager, but of course if it's a well-behaved dog, which most of them are, then that I see in shops anyway, then it's not a problem. And we went to the Cosy Club, because you were allowed to sit in the bar in the Cosy Club with your dog, and Isla was in her little chariot, so we just went, a horrible lift. it's one of those lifts where you can see the walls. You're not enclosed totally. You're on a platform with sides, and you're going up this sort of tunnel, vertical tunnel that they've made for you. And then you hope that the lift's going to stop before it gets to the ceiling, and that the doors are going to open the other end, because it made a lot of, you could see all these sort of scratch marks down the side of the walls over the years. So I had to use it, and then Ali used it with Isla in her chariot. So we went and sat right at the front of the Cosy Club in Cheltenham, and we went to the bar to order instead of getting table service like me and the tenor girls do. We sit in the restaurant part when we were in Worcester. And I had halloumi sticks with like a chilli jam, which was really, really nice. And I had fries. Mum shared some of my fries with me, luckily, because otherwise I would have struggled. And I had wine as well, so I was quite happy. I tend to be drinking wine when I go out these days, not like me. And then, so we had a really nice day. I came home. We got home probably about 6, I think. We bought extra in the... we got there and we went to a pub and I had coffee. Juliet and Ali had a bit of alcohol. Mum had tea. And then we went for another drink at the same pub on the way back. I think I had a cola then. Where we could take Isla just inside. They had great big bifold doors that you could fold back and it was open to the air. It was a nice day actually. And there was an old man sat there, probably in his cups, singing his head off. Anyway, he looked at us when we left and Ali said to him, "We're not going because you're singing. It's rather good you're singing, you know." But yeah, it was like a Wetherspoons, but it wasn't a Wetherspoons. And then that was on the Friday, and then on the Monday I went to Merry Hill with Elaine. We went and had toast and rum, as you do, in Wetherspoons, because I can order on the app, so they bring it to you. I would have had a coffee otherwise, honestly I would. So we both had a double rum. Early on in the day I wasn't driving for hours. And we had tea, we had toast because they served breakfast till noon and it was about 1:45, so I quickly got on the app and ordered the toast. Coughed, but we won't talk about that. Thank goodness for tenor. And then in the afternoon we went to M&S Cafe because they were always very helpful to me and Elaine. Elaine's eyesight is such that she doesn't like to carry things, hot drinks and things, but we've only got to ask them and they help us. And we had Victoria Sponge and I think I had a hot chocolate because I didn't want coffee, and that was nice as well. Then last Wednesday I met with my friend Jeanette that I worked back in the 80s with at County Hall and when we were in the centre of Worcester as well. She worked in the same department as me for a few years, and then she moved to the highways section in street lighting, and then now she's moved just up the road from me, spitting different distance. So we went round the pub that I meet Maggie and Penny in, and we had a good chat and a good laugh, and it's nice. I've always found a very easy company. And that was on the thing. And then on the Saturday I went to see Mum, because I put a picture on Instagram of me mum on her knees nearly killing herself cutting out my blouse. Now I can't show it you, it's in pieces, it's got lots of pins in it which are very sharp because I stabbed myself with them in the belly of all places as I was trying to put it in this bag. It's in the wardrobe, and once I've finished the charity bags I will be sewing it, and I'm really looking forward to having a go at sewing this blouse on my own. Aren't I, Mum? Thank you, Mummy, for cutting it out. Now, Barbara said, "Why you got your mum on her knees?" She said, "What I do," she said, "I get a table and I get a chair at the end, and I use the chair at the end to take the weight of the fabric, and then I move it along as I'm cutting it." Mum, and I suppose that would work actually, especially this was a bit tight to fit onto what we had. The cotton wasn't as narrow as the next one we're going to do. So we had to get the layout right first. Didn't look at the layout they recommended. That you can always make better use of your fabric than, well, usually make better use of the fabric than the pattern tells you. So she laid it out and then decided to cut it, but I think next time we could use that method, Barbara, because I think that would work really well, because we know we've got a lot more fabric to use, to deal with, and we don't have to try to jiggery pokery so much. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to making that. And that's it. I'm going out to the Neville Arms at Ashwood Bank tonight in a short while to meet Wendy and Amanda that I work with, and it's a free house. They do really nice home cooked meals, fairly generous portions, and they do really, really nice puddings. So I'm a bit pecky. I might just have a piece of bread and butter now, otherwise I'll be too hungry when I go out, because Tom's made some lovely bread recently, so if it's nice crusty bread, it needs butter. So I'm going to go now. I'm not going to bother you anymore. I know I'm not bothering you. And we'll talk about my bullet journal next time. I was going to show Anita what I'd done, but it's buried under my, not purposely, Anita, sorry, it's buried under my camera. I've got 3 hardback books, the bottom of one of which is my new bullet journal, and I've not done hardly anything in it for September. So I'm going to start October, and I'm going to draw it all up this weekend, and I will be using it. Well, I want to. It's not that I don't want to, I want to. No excuses, remember. I'm going now before I go mad, and start talking to myself, which I often do. I hope you're okay. I hope that your crafting is going well and that you're enjoying what you're doing. And I will speak to you in about a fortnight. But those of you who've ordered bags, I should be in touch with you to see if you've got any preferences for the yarn in particular. Otherwise, I will see you soon. Take care. Don't be good if you don't want to be good. And yeah, we'll speak in a short while. Bye. Thanks for watching.